oh my god, I'm so bad with this. Trypanosmia? African sleeping sickness. Guys, I tried. I'm so sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the What Are You Dreaming podcast. I'm Nick, without Christy again, but that's okay, because I have a jam-packed show for you and for me. I don't know what I'm going to start with right now. You know what? Let's do a bit of an update. So, life's been going pretty good for me, and I'm happy to say that. You gotta... I think the important thing is making sure you celebrate your wins and celebrate even the little ones, because, I don't think a lot of us do. We all get caught up with the day-to-day. And, you just don't gain perspective and you don't take your time to enjoy things. Smell the roses, so to speak. Actually, it's funny. Okay, so here's the thing with roses. I don't think they smell that great. They just kind of smell like plant. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, like there's some flowers that smell nice, but some flowers that are just flowers. It's like, and like rose is like the one that's the freaking flower. It's like, look at me, I'm the best flower. Everyone goes roses. No one else goes anything else. It's roses, roses, roses. Valentine's Day, it's like the roses are so damn expensive. Like the amount of times I have bought a single rose, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Or they're ridiculously overpriced for like one time of the year that's completely arbitrary. Oh, Valentine's Day, show the person you like you love them with this flower. The flower shows you love them and buy them chocolates and stuff. It's like, and the thing is with roses, right? Obviously, I've got a thing about roses right now, so bear with me. So, like, roses, they got the whole thing, a traditional Turkish delight. I'm not talking about the Cadbury Turkish delight with chocolate and all that stuff. It's like, well, it's good and all, but like, I'm talking about OG Turkish delight, the stuff with rose water. It tastes good, but I can't say that it tastes planty. But then regular plants, I swear that some flowers just smell like planty. Like, not like grass, although the smell of fresh cut grass is great, but I mean, like, I just don't get it, I think we should move away from this whole paradigm of roses, because you know what they say, roses really do smell like poo-poo. Does it make sense? I don't know. You are the judge of that. So I have a couple of dreams that I was thinking of deconstructing today, live on the show. I've done a bit of a sit down with myself and already kind of thought of it. So, but I think I'll let my thoughts go out. So my first dream. So it has to do with a friend that I haven't really talked to in yonks. And it starts off with kind of like a Blade Runner-esque setting, which seems to be a default. I don't know why. It's like everything ends up becoming this, like, in the not too distant future, everything is Asian. You know what I mean? Dumpling shops as far as the eye can see. Also, really messy, but at the same time, super high tech. I can't tell the difference. So, anyway, so I'm in this kind of place. I'm walking around, what have you. And there's news out saying, like, a man has committed suicide and blah, 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 blah. And I've just gone, oh, I know him. I'm not surprised. As awful as that sounds, like, in the dream, I was like, oh, I'm not surprised. Anyway, and then he does this, like, they do this, like, tape thing, because, like, in this not too distant future, there's TV screens everywhere, or whatever, 3D projections, and it goes, the gentleman in question, he's sitting in front of camera going, if I die an untimely death, that makes no sense, and it's said to be a suicide, it's not. I was killed by Nick. And he puts my full name out on display, photo, everything. So then it goes like, looking for this gentleman in his 30s. He has a half Asian complexion and da-da-da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? So like the usual stuff. So then I've just gone, you son of a bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just cranky. Like, I didn't kill anybody, man. So I'm just like, whatever. Move along. Then some cyber cops find me. Different than regular cops. They don't sleep. These are robot cops. They're not robo cops because that's trademark. So they end up chasing me. I end up running through this like Chinese casino. I run away, I get away from them. I play a couple of slots because, that's what you do when you're getting chased. You stop and you go, I'm gonna do some slots and see if I get lucky because I got away from the cops. So I do my slots, do all that stuff, and then the cops end up chasing me. And then I do the whole, if any of you have seen, what's it called? Fugitive, The Fugitive. And I just go, I didn't kill this guy. Like, I even said it. Like the guy in the movie, I didn't kill my wife. It's like, I don't care. I did that, and it was just like, what? And I ended up waking up. That was the dream. Again, very classical Nick style dream. High, middling concept sci-fi setting, but still a regular kind of thriller storyline. So, to a degree, I'm going to say I know what the dream is about. It has to do with what happened between myself and this friend. We had a bit of a falling out. Things were said, stuff was done, and we no longer talk to each other. But, I think that's kind of part of growing older. Things happen, people say things, people change, people grow, some people don't grow. I don't it's just kind of part of the whole process, you know what I mean? And there's some things that I think some people don't realize the maladaptive behaviors that they have. But that being said, I think we're also really good at kind of, just putting stuff under the rug and just going that's such and such, or that's their thing, that's that, and what have you. And I mean, I'm very much, I understand, I'm not perfect, I'm not going to pretend that. Who in life's perfect? But then, that being said, I think sometimes, you kind of get into an echo chamber where no one kind of calls you out and you shit, and then things just kind of start rubbing and toughen, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so then I think this whole kind of thing is kind of like a perceived, in the dreams, kind of like a perceived betrayal of something that never really happened, which to a degree, without going into too much detail, is about where it kind of stood. It's not so much a betrayal, but it is certainly elements that did not happen was kind of like, no, you know what? It was like accusations on my side of things, and I called them out saying that's bullshit, and then things kind of fell apart. But then that's what happens. So I've obviously got some residual frustration, which I gotta say, my waking state, not really a case. I've got too much other stuff going on. But I'm obviously in the sleeping state, it's something that's kind of been hounding at me. So actually, you know what? And here's the second dream. Before, I'm gonna wrap this all up. This is gonna be great. I know where this is going, and I hope you guys enjoy where this is going. So, the second dream I had. So, this dream was I was on the show for, what was it? Now I forgot. Beauty and the Geek. I've already had my rant about Beauty and the Geek. I'm not going to do it again. I'm pretty sure I've done it twice, for 2 separate years. So, well. So, 2 separate 6-month periods. Yeah, there you go. So, I'm on the show for Beauty and the Geek, and funnily enough, I don't have a beauty, which I think's a bit rude. I'm just the geek by myself, so that's fun. And the show's about, I think it's a section on pick a video game that you're good at, and it had all these video games that I was really good at, and I knew them, they were real ones, but then the funny part was that there were other video games that didn't exist. One of them was called the Rumpa Tumpa Adventure, and I was like, what the hell's Rumpa Tumpa? I've never heard of Rumpa Tumpa, and I'm like, oh, Rumpa Tumpa must suck. But then it's other things, it's got Warhammer Total War 3. If you don't know what it is, it's a great video game. You got other video, like God of War, which I know of, I've never played it. All these kind of video games. So I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. So I'm gonna get my beauty. I'm gonna get my beauty. That was like what I said. I said it like that. I'm gonna get it. That's how you get people. You just win them in a competition, like it's some joust, like a medieval joust. I'll get you, fair lady, you are mine. Anyway, so I do all that. I'm getting ready, and just before that, I go to EB Games. So it's a video game shop where I don't know if they exist outside. I know they got different names. I think they used to be called Electronics Boutique. I think they're called EB Games in the States. No, GameStop. They're called GameStop in the States, I think. So it's very different. So it's but still, it's strange. I don't go into them anymore. I used to go into them tons as a kid. but like that was back in the day where physical ownership was a whole thing. Now I just buy stuff online and it's all just together. It's so much easier. Anyway, so I go in there, I'm about to get my game for the competition, I'm all ready. Anyway, so then I find a woman has all these games. And it was someone who, you know, I knew recently, and things didn't end great. Let's just say that. Let's just keep it simple. And funnily enough, as you can probably guess, I'm not someone who is tends to lose his words because he just doesn't shut the hell up. But I was actually caught out speechless, and I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? What's this? What's that? And I'm trying to I have a conversation. I'm not like just barely functional. I'm barely functional at the best of times anyway. But anyway, I had the conversation, this, that, and everything's good. And then we go into a cinema after that to then do the competition. Then I wake up. So again, this is another thing where in my waking state, I would put money down to say I do not think about it. I don't really, put a lot of resources into that kind of person. I'm being very vague for a reason. So I don't have anything to do with this person that much anymore, unfortunately. But that, that's just like, I guess that's the part. So this is the thing about when you're an adult, right? So when you're a kid, it's so much. Just bear with me. Anyway, so when you become an adult, and I think a lot of adults get this, it's to a degree it is harder to meet people and be friends with people because you haven't got so much time, let alone for others, let alone yourself. So it's one of those things where letting someone else into your life can be a bit daunting, and I think that's kind of where some people are. I'm quite thankful that I have a lot of people in my life where I have a good amount of people in my life that I can have a conversation with and I'm open with, and I can say, I love them as family. I love them as family, and I've also got a loving family as well, and I'm able to communicate with them. But then it's communicate, and just be myself. And I think that's kind of the hard part, is trying to we learn when you're a kid, holy moly, it is so easy making friends, because you're just like, this is me. Do you like me? Yeah, I think you're cool. Let's be friends. Okay. And then you get older. And then when you become a teenager, man, being a teenager, my lord, I gotta say this. A goddamn mess. So I was reading up this thing on adolescence, right? Where, the general thing with adolescence is that, it's that kind of puberty until 18. It used to be that. Now they're saying the definition of adolescence could even go up until that kind of mid-20s, which I find fascinating. It's a fascinating concept to me. But I've always known that your brain stops developing at 25, right? So it's kind of you don't make any big life decisions until before 25. So, because you're an idiot. I'm not going to pretend like I was intelligent back then, it's just you're an idiot. It's almost a cruel, biological joke trying to get teenagers to come up with all these big life decisions when they've barely got enough, neural pathways to be able to say, hey, I'm me, I know what I want and what I want to do. You know what I mean? And it's as soon as we hit that adolescent stage, yes, again, you still are building these relationships. It is easier to make those relationships because that's basically what you have to do. That's what school is, right? And then, nowadays, it's you gotta your kids are just full of neuroses. They've always been full of neuroses. They're always full of what have you. There's always problems, and that's kind of part of adolescence, is working out who you are, who you deal with, and who you don't want to deal with, based off who you are and what your kind of morals are, what your kind of core you is. But then that's just basically a lot of failure. I'm not saying failure in a bad state of things, but it's that kind of failure of making mistakes. Oh, okay, well, I was trying to be this one person, but that doesn't really gel with who I actually am, so I don't really gel with these kind of people. It's that kind of thing. So again, like I said, I put my heart goes out to teenagers everywhere because like goddamn, like it's a punish. And I gotta say that as someone who's like, it's only been 5 years since I was 25 until I feel like I kind of knew what I was doing, and like, man, heart goes out to you guys. And but so trying to bring this back to what I was about the dream, right? So I think it's that thing. So in the romantic context, I feel like it's one of those things where I find dating quite hard in a sense of like, I think a lot of people do it. That's not unique, but I think it's that thing of just trying to be making yourself opening yourself up. I think, it's like I'm open myself in a social situation, but not so much in a romantic situation. And I think a lot of that comes down to like, and this is again, not unique to me and what have you, but like, I think it's that like that early relationship, you kind of like, oh, I'm in love, and I'm going to be with this person forever, yada, 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 all that jazz. And it's like, your heart breaks and then you're kind of a bit withheld. But I think in a way, in my situation, I think that was good. I do think it was good because I think it's that like, you got to learn who you are as a person so that you can find someone who can complement you in a partnership, and not so much about you just being in a relation, like not seeing yourself as collective, but seeing that individual you, right? So, but I think like, but that being said, I still have my walls up, and I think that's a normal part of some, like, part of trying to grow is trying to break down those walls in a healthy way. And I think that I tend to get I get caught up really quickly in feelings, and I made a joke about feelings earlier, and it's like, oh, feelings so that I can bang someone, but it's just like, no, but like in all seriousness, it is that part of like, I need to have feelings to be able to connect to someone properly, and that's not very typical for men. Some men just go, yeah, you know what, you got 2 legs, got a pulse, I'll bang ya. You know? But yeah, and I think that's and it's a problem. I'm working on it. Like, I'm not pretending like I'm a paragon of relationship advice. Absolutely not. But like, definitely just try and keep that shit in check. So, and I think that's kind of where the dream comes in. Obviously I had whatever's about this person, and it's still in my head, and and that's kind of a good thing to kind of remind yourself of where you want to end up being and who you want to find. So that was my dreams. Again, I have to say, very on brand, Nick. Doing great. Oh my gosh, thank you, Nick. You're so nice. I know, Nick. I know. You are amazing. Wait, am I amazing? I don't know who I'm talking to anymore. So, new show on Netflix. I haven't watched it. Actually, that's a lie. I've watched like 20 minutes of it. It's called The Sandman. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to watch it, because I feel like it has to be something I have to watch for the show, and I will do that. I watched it for the show, and I haven't had any spoilers, and so we'll see where that goes. But there was something in the show that I found interesting. It was called The Sleepy Sickness, or what have you. Sleepy. The subtitle said sleepy. So I'm going to go, I've been doing a bit of research, and I wanted to kind of go over what that is. So in the show, this is a spoiler for the first 20 minutes of the show. I don't call that big. It just sounds like the stakes are it would seem like it'd be in a trailer, so if you don't like it, too bad, so sad. So, you got the Sandman, or that's what I imagine the main character is. He seems to be the guy who's in charge. He's the king of dreams, right? He ends up getting kidnapped by a human, and since he gets kidnapped, people go into what's called a sleepy sickness. And me being me, I went, does that sound like something that was a thing? Not so much about, not saying a paracausal entity was kidnapped and then people got sick. I meant like real sick, like a real sickness, a real disease that happened during this time of, it was like 1916. My brain, it went to Spanish flu. That was my first thought. So anyway, so I looked up 2 different things. So one thing I found was, and I am definitely going to butcher this, encephalitis lethargica. Holy shit, I nailed it. Oh my god. Oh, probably not, but still. So apparently it was a mysterious epidemic disease of the 1920s and 30s, and it was known as the sleepy or sleeping sickness, which kind of relates to the show. So it says that it was associated with the development of post-encephalitic Parkinson's. So I don't know what that means, but I think, okay, you know what? It looks like it has to do with Parkinson's, so having that motor syndrome characteristics like, trembling, behavioral abnormalities. So, and I think, what is encephalitis? Is encephalitis something to do with the brain? This is where I love having Google, because Google is king. So encephalitis, inflammation of the brain. Cool. Okay, so it looks like it's a inflammation of the brain that caused... Okay. So apparently the condition was popularized by Oliver Sacks' 1973 book, Awakenings. And they did a movie in the 1990s of the same thing. So it says that it has to do with a lot of insomnia and movement disorders. And in the bad stages of it, the acute stages, they say, it's characterized by intractable somnolence? The frickety frack is that, man? Your state of drowsiness. Okay, look, you know what? I'm gonna say somnolence. That sounds right. So so that's interesting. But it goes on to say that it was strange because it was seen to be affecting young people, right? And part of what it did was that it messed up your sleep-wake cycle, had some respiratory issues, and actually did some issues to the gray matter of the brain. So that's interesting, because usually Parkinson's is a later onset in life thing. So that's interesting. So while they don't know the actual cause of it, there's a theory that the Spanish flu was part of that virus kind of developed that inflammation of the brain, right? So you have, which kind of makes sense. And this is again, I am not a scientist, don't get me wrong, but I think it's interesting that you have, this is where I love media in this way, but this is just how my brain works, because on a surface level, the sleepy sickness makes sense. Sleeping sickness makes sense. Like, it sounds like something that happened. But then you look at this and then you see the kind of context surrounding it. It's just really interesting, because, a bit of personal anecdote. Back when year 10, so 15, I was back at 15, 16, I got super sick with, they think it was influenza A, and which, funnily enough, is related all the way back to the Spanish flu. This is where it connects really well. And it was so bad. I was wheelchair bound. I got to get wheelchair to hospital, tested, all this kind of stuff. I was out for about a week. I couldn't sleep. It was awful. And then one day I just woke up and felt better. And, the human body, man, human fucking body. Like, I didn't feel 100%. I definitely got in the mend, because it was moving to an experimental wing of the Children's Hospital was the next stage of the treatment, because I wasn't getting better. I just got better. But since I got that, like when I was I'd say probably for about 2-3 years, I was just super tired. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue. I couldn't sleep properly. If I was just falling asleep during the day. I couldn't control it. It was awful. It was rough. It was awful. And funnily enough, I think also a lot of mental health issues kind of develop from that too. So again, that kind of goes back to this kind of major illness kind of creating this kind of issue, which I like, again, complete anecdote. But at face value, I can kind of see how this is related. So if you are but again, this is just a theory and it has not been conclusively linked to anything. But they have noticed that there has been some, I shouldn't sound so excited, post-encephalitic Parkinsonism in people with COVID-19. So that's a little bit sad. But that is interesting to see, like, how it can impact your brain and then impact your sleep-wake cycle. And, maybe that's ends up becoming... what is it? Long COVID ends up being has those kind of symptoms. So that's part. So if you were Googling sleepy sickness, that's kind of what you'd come up with. There's also a second one. So this is the other part I found super interesting. So this one is called African trypanos. Oh my god, I'm so bad with this. Trypanosmia. African sleeping sickness. Guys, I tried. I'm so sorry. So, this is completely different to what we were just talking about. So, what we were talking about previously was a possible symptom of influenza, the Spanish flu, which, funnily enough, started in the US. But it was only reported in Spain. Interesting. Have a Google. It's actually a very fascinating story. But this is completely different. So, this one, African sleeping sickness, is due to a parasite when they get infected by fly bites. What's it called? The tsetse fly, when they bite them. So when they get bitten, I just felt, oh my god, that's so freaky. Sorry, I just felt this pinch feeling, and I thought I got bit. Man, oh man, I hate dude, that's what I hate about the brain sometimes. You just, anyway. So this tsetse fly bites somebody, and then they end up getting a fever, high fever, fatigue, headaches, and muscle aches. And if you don't get treated by it, you can die. Okay, wow. So tsetse flies are found in sub-Saharan Africa. So travelers who spend a lot of time outdoors. So like if you're out like in the savannah, Sahara, no, different. Out bush. We'll just say out bush. Much easier. He actually has got a pretty high chance of it. Now, okay, so apparently there isn't any vaccine or medicine to prevent it, but you can have a chance of preventing it. Basically covering your skin, avoiding bush during the day, inspect vehicles. Oh, Jesus. And apparently there's no such thing as repellent. What's the treatment? Do they say treatment? I don't see anything about treatment. That just seems like a bit of a problem, isn't it? Treatment. Okay, so there's apparently 2 stages. Okay. The treatment of the disease is fixindazole by mouth. Okay, so it looks like a medication. There is medication to help with the first stage, and I'm not reading that anymore because this is too complicated. Okay. So okay, wait, no, okay, so fexindiazole, I'm butchering that, is specifically for this, and it's made to help with the first and second stage of the disease. What it does, it has 91% effectiveness, interesting, it's oral, and it is treated sickness in first drug candidate for treatment in over 30 years. Okay. Cool. Interesting. Well, I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to go down the scientific element of this because I don't have, the intellectual capacity to effectively interact with the information. So, there you go. So, if you were Googling sleepy sickness or sleeping sickness, you've got a little resource just for you, right? You're lucky, aren't you? You should all be so lucky that you come over to the What Do You Dream podcast, and get your fix. So now for the segment we all love, your user submitted dreams. Getting a few more, and it's always nice to get that from the community. So we have Lynn. Lynn states, I often dream I'm running for exercise, not running away from anything. It feels fantastic and empowering. I can't run like that in real life and have never been a good runner. I feel super light on my feet and almost like my shoes are giving me a bouncing style of running. Thank you so much for that, Lynn. So I'm going to say this straight up. I hate running. I hate it so much. I don't understand people who like it. It's like, but that being said, it's like, some people don't understand why lifting weights is fun. It's like, it's just some people just bodies and just kind of click. You know what I mean? But back to Lynn. So Lynn, it's good to see that you feel so free when you experience this. So again, we've said this before, it's this element in our sleeping state, right? We want to be able to do what we can't do in our waking state. And obviously you want to kind of feel free, right? So there's two ways of doing this. That you don't feel like you're free in your waking state and you want to unburden yourself from the waking world, or you actually have a very light mind, light consciousness, you have no burdens. You are free to if you're euphoric in your state, you're happy, you're able to interact with the world, light with no burdens. So I think that's where it is, and it's great that you are getting that relief from your sleep. I think this is where we've really got to embrace our dreams and really enjoy the good ones. Thank you again, Len, for submitting the dream. So it looks like we don't have a person's name, but it's called English Works Across the Channel. So I'm just going to call them E because I'm not reading the full thing, and also I'm pretty sure I just gave you a shout out. You're welcome. So E writes, I dream of a house which has rooms I'm afraid to visit because they're all abandoned with cobwebs and a few pieces of furniture. It is by the sea along a sandy beach. My state of feelings is turmoil of phobias, of fear of the unknown. Thanks a million for your attention. Well, thank you very much, E. So, interesting. Now I've got to think about this. You obviously can tell I don't pre-read these before I start. So you mentioned you feel turmoil of phobias. You've had the abandon. Abandon's an interesting word. Is there something in your past that you potentially have forgotten that you need to address? Maybe you've abandoned something in your past and you have a bit of guilt over it. Or maybe you just feel like something hasn't been finished properly and that you need to maybe fill those rooms with your attention so that you're able to assist with it. Along the sandy beach is interesting. Do you live near a coast or anything like that? Is that something maybe when you were a kid you spent a lot of good times at the beach? And maybe that helps with the fear, or maybe you're scared. Or are you scared of the beach? That's probably more likely. Is it that you're feeling, when we think of the ocean, right? Okay, this is where we're going. Okay, I got on track. So if you think of the sea and think of the depths of the sea and the vastness of the ocean, we know very little about the sea. We haven't actually explored a lot of it. So again, it links back to this void of the unknown. And when we have anxieties of the unknown, generally in our waking state, we're worried, we're anxious about something. So anxiety is very interesting. So it's a very future-orientated mental state of being. So maybe you've got a mix of two things here. You're worried about the future and the unknown, and possibly something that you haven't attended to, something you've forgotten, something that you haven't addressed, and you're burdening yourself with this. So, I think part of a healthy experience is being present in the moment. Learning from our past and experiencing the now. And yes, being attentive to the future is always useful. Nothing worse than being unprepared. But being fixated with the future and being anchored to the past, you were not able to enjoy the present. And part of enjoying the present is unburdening yourself from all these kind of things. So, E, thank you so much for sending that through. Actually, also, I have not been writing responses on the Facebook, so I'm really sorry about that. So I'm gonna actually probably have to get to tap into all these people and get right back to them. But again, really, thank you for your participation. Okay, so we have another comment from Okay, Marty says, being in my house next to a beautiful lake, I live there during the night. Oh, that sounds like a really, you know what? That's a really sweet dream, man. Marty, I think Marty's a male's name. Marty, that's really sweet. You know, like obviously you're in a safe place. You're experiencing your Zen moment, you know, and I mean, like if you're feeling that kind of safety, peace, serenity, then you're gonna that's a good night's sleep, man. You're probably gonna feel really good when you wake up. You know, and that's really cool. That's really cool to hear. I'm glad. And we also have, okay, looks like I lost them for a second. Okay, so we have Casey. Casey writes that I'm writing a SAT on calculus. I hate math, and the test is 2 inches thick. I think my eyes hurt and I'll never get through this well. I'm 63. I don't know why I'd be writing any tests. Thank you so much, Casey. So that's funny. No, so again, we go... So back to kind of what I was saying earlier with kind of, you know, that making friends, and then you hit that kind of adolescent stage. When you hit that we tend to fall back on when we're feeling anxious, we tend to fall back into some people, it's falling back into high school. High school was an anxiety-inducing time, right? Didn't know who you were, didn't know what you're about, and of course we all have those tests, all forms, one way or the other. It's either you always end up doing these kind of big final exams, a lot of pressure put on you, and you know what? It's really, it's not a fun time, eh? And so psychologically speaking, a lot of how we act in our adulthood is based on the experiences we had during our childhood or adolescent period. So that explains why when you're up until you're 63, you're still having these kind of dreams. So I hope that helps. Just kind of, you know, is there any anxiety in your life? Maybe you should be addressing that with someone close to you, and hope this alleviates some of that stress for you. I saw one that was a really good one. Someone's written, can't say I will be banned for evil thoughts. Now, I gotta say, Barbara, that was from Barbara. Okay, Barbara, if you ever listen to the podcast, you should know it's a safe place, and I've said some weird things. So, yeah, I don't think you're gonna be banned for anything. Oh, lordy. Okay, and finally I've got Tony. Tony writes, sometimes I'm standing up in a group naked, not that it bothers me. Now, see, that's interesting. So normally, being naked in a group is a nightmare scenario for a lot of people. And, you know, everyone's heard of that kind of dream archetype. Standing in front of a group, I'm naked and they're laughing at me or this and that. So, and usually that means you're afraid of being open, you're anxious, you're whatevers. But you, my friend, it sounds like you're very comfortable being open. Maybe too comfortable. Are you a very open person? Are you not afraid of You're comfortable with who you are. That's what it is, my friend. You are comfortable bearing it all, and I hope you do that with people that you care about and not in a crowded place, because that's when we get into trouble. Oh, one more. Dawn. I like the name Dawn. It's a good name. Dawn writes, dreams meanings are individual. Not the same for everyone, but some dreams have universal meaning. Very well said, Dawn. So again, it's true. So like anytime, I mean, Christy and I aren't experts, especially Christy. Suck it, Christy. And you know, it's true. Each of our dreams are individual, but there are themes that people tend to play out, right? So you know, you got the general anxiety, the fear, the maybe regret, the wanting to feel free. It's all while they are universal concepts, they can be applied to an individual context. But then again, that being said, I'm just a dude talking shit And I hope the words are nice and you guys laugh and you're having fun, right? That's really it. We're trying to share our stories, have a bit of fun. And that kind of covers the dream section. Again, thank you guys so much for participating in all this. We always love reading your dreams. We really do appreciate it. And if you have any dreams, make sure you email us at whatdoyoudreampodcast@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at whatdoyoudreampodcast. Now, before I sign off for the day, I've got to address some housekeeping rules. So an individual has come forth to me and has called me out on some incorrect statements from the previous podcast, and I'm going to address those right now. So I said on the record that I did not have any friends with red hair, and you know what? Apparently I do. And apparently I can't tell the difference between red and brown hair. And for that individual, I am... It's like I'm sorry. I'm like trying to be super serious. It's like, but this is the allegation. I'm going to address it. So there you go. I said I'd do it on the podcast, and it has been addressed. You're welcome. And you know what? I think right now, also, Christy's away at a hen's party, and hope she's keeping it good and Christian. Because I know she's having it good and Christian, because I asked if she's having strippers and cocaine, and she said no. And I'm like, God, what kind of you know what she's probably doing? She's probably playing a puzzle, instead of instead of strippers and cocaine, instead of strippers and cocaine, Christy is doing a puzzle at her friend's hen's night. We all know it to be true. And on that puzzling conclusion, I'd like to say thank you so much for listening, if indeed you still are. I've been Nick. This has been the What Do You Dream podcast. Hope you have a great night's sleep.